You guys talk about Jho Low in his past and how he went to a private school, and a lot of the contacts that he has later in life become important to him, and that's how he kind of got where he is. But who was he before, his association with Najib? Like, who was this guy? Well, it almost seemed like he came on the scene out of nowhere right when one MDB started.
Well, I think he was just a guy trying to find his place in the world, as as common as that sounds. But because of where he was educated and the kind of places he grew up in, he knew that he had to kind of penetrate these layers of where the wealthy are concentrated. He attended the Harrow School in England, which is one of the most exclusive boarding schools out there, and then he went to the University of Pennsylvania, like someone else who's very famous in America. But that's where he met all these people. He met like the Prince of Jordan, or he met the former prime minister's son in London while he was attending boarding school, and he made more contacts in the University of Pennsylvania. But these are all people he met who he then enmeshed in his scandals going forward.
Right, right.
And because he already came from a moderately wealthy family in Malaysia, he was able to utilize that to then enmesh himself with the Najib Razak family, who were also on the come up because at the time that he was attending school, Najib Razak was a defense minister. But because his father had been one of the first prime ministers in Malaysia, it was almost preordained that Najib Razak would become a prime minister in his own right. And I think Jho Low could kind of see that coming. So, when all this stuff is happening, Jho Low is very young. He's like in his mid 20s, late 20s.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like he was this fully formed person who just appeared out of nowhere. He's just a young man who saw a way to penetrate the layers of the wealthy and kind of found the shortest way to do it.
Yeah. What I do find interesting is I've seen him give speeches where he talks about how he's part of a family that for 70 years they've been, donating excess amounts of money to all these, communities. And I'm shocked. Like, if I went on a spree talking about stuff like that, my mom would be like, wait a minute. My daughter and we haven't been doing this for years. Like, what? It just seems odd to me that you never hear about his family. You don't hear about people that knew him growing up being like, wait a minute, he was just a bullshit artist and no one knew anything about him. And his parents just don't speak English and don't even know that this is going on. Like, that's what rang in my head. I thought it was odd you don't see all these people corroborating his story.
Well, I mean, I think if we were out in Malaysia, we would be more aware of it, right? So, like, his
Yeah.
family's involved in lawsuits with the government where they're trying to take things back from them that Jho Low purchased for them with
Hmm.
stolen money. So, his father was like a moderately successful businessman, but they're not like the Rockefellers or anything. But Jho Low, once he had all this stolen money, these billions of dollars that he had to kind of rationalize and justify, he retroactively changed his family story by saying that he was the secret heir of this billionaire fortune, when in actuality, he's just creating a cover story. And, his parents are kind of in on the whole thing. So they're
Oh,
kind of staying mum, right? Because they're benefiting. He's clearly funneling money to them and his siblings. His brother, Jho Low's brother, was one of his, key players in this whole scandal. So, I
oh,
mean, this is really a family-wide scandal, and of course, it's to their benefit to kind of stay quiet so they don't really blow the cover of
I
this
see.
bullshit story he's telling the world about how his family's been donating tens of $1 millions to charity for generations.
So now that you bring that up, though, Jho Low is still on the run, and he has not been caught. I'm surprised that the government hasn't put pressure on his family or on people that are, not necessarily implicated and in jail yet, but to get his whereabouts, to find out where he is. Because do you actually think he's not speaking to these people? Do you not think that someone is funding him in some way, or he's funding them?
Well, I think my sources tell me that it's most likely that he is hiding out in China
Mm.
and is being protected by the Chinese government. Towards the end of the 1MDB scandal, the Chinese government got involved in an effort to paper over some of these losses on behalf of Najib Razak in exchange for some rights to sovereignty in the Yellow Sea and that related region. So the then prime minister was actually giving up like sovereignty of his sphere in exchange for the Chinese government giving him money to make him uh, able to kind of perpetuate the fraud a little bit longer. But also, Jho Low, through his involvement, knows where all the bodies are buried.
Mm.
So
So
what
do
I'm
you think that
told,
doesn't have an end life where China's like, all right, we're done hiding it?
no, absolutely, I think it does. I just don't know when that, and I don't know when his expiration date is. But
Yeah.
as of now, he's being ferried from safe house to safe house in like Macau, Shenzhen, Hong Kong. Him and his family. So Jolo's married now, and he has kids. So, but like every few weeks, Chinese intelligence will take him to a new location and keep him out of the spotlight. Last year, some crowdsourcing resulted in people sending in some photos from Disneyland Shanghai that were supposedly Jho Low and his family. But he stayed off the radar for a long time. He certainly wouldn't respond to any of my emails, which was a shame.